This podcast is presented by the Petite Victory Collective. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Modular Stories. In this podcast, I would like to create a platform for people to share themselves, their stories, their experiences, and their life lessons. Before each episode, my guest can build and patch their own background music with the help of my modular synth. My goal with this podcast is to inspire the listeners, spark their creativity, and to share these incredible people I get to talk to with the world. I hope you enjoy it. Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Modular Stories. Today I'm here with the incredible Chelsea. She's a filmmaker and content creator from New York, but I don't want to spoil too much. I want to give you the chance to kind of introduce yourself to the audience.
Oh my God, I feel like I've never been on this site to introduce myself before. I'm like, what do I even say? But yeah, hi, my name's Chelsea. I am a content creator and filmmaker here in New York. For my day job, I am a social media manager. So I have different clients that I manage throughout the day. And also on the side, I focus a lot on my own content creation. I think that as a filmmaker, I started to dive into the social media aspect because I saw that there is an avenue for that. There's a lot of filmmakers out there now who are creating their own content and sharing their stories online, and I want to be a part of that group. So even though the way that right now my content is, I feel like my content is a lot more lifestyle and like what I do, because I like going on these, I call them adventures. So even though I do that a lot more, I do want to eventually start gravitating more towards like the film side of things and start making my own, possibly like short films or 30-second clips of something just artistic, or even be able to like give like helpful tips and feedback to people. That's something that I aspire to do later down in the future.
Yeah, but that's so cool. I feel like that's such a thing that nowadays it's so open for everybody and it's so accessible to have everything on social media. And I always like to watch like your little day trips or like your events you do in New York with your girlfriend wife now, right?
Fiance, we still haven't tied the knot, but yeah.
All right. with your fiance, I'm sorry, with your fiance, that you go on day trips or that you like go to some events for like candy shops or something in New York. It's so great for me as well, because I feel like I get to experience it with you in a way that I could never, because I'm not in New York and I will never get the chance to experience that event that is happening right now. But through you and through your content, I feel like I can be a part of it. So I really like your content, and I think it's a great idea.
Thank you so much. I like that. I like hearing that people actually watch it and enjoy watching it. I definitely want to be that person that you can resonate with, or that what they're saying now on like social media. This is so like so cliche, like cheesy, but a lot of it is like being organic or being yourself and having people gravitate towards you in that manner. And I actually stumbled upon something that was like astrology, like what your astrology sign is meant to do in this lifetime. And I'm an Aquarius, and mine is to be like, what is it? There was a term for it that I don't even remember. But anyways, it was along the lines of like pretty much saying that like I am meant to love myself and help others be who they are and honor who they are, because we are all unique individuals, and a lot of us get trapped into what we think society wants to see or like what society wants to hear, and we are so immersed in this image that is supposed to be perfect and you're supposed to showcase this like perfect life, but in reality it's like we are all struggling in our own ways, and we just need that to be the norm and like display that more. So yeah, people can connect with it, and people aren't like obsessed over their looks.
Yeah, for sure. I really feel that personally as well. When I was a kid, I really liked to like dress up, or like I had like a whole closet of costumes, and Carnival or like Halloween were my favorite days in the year, because I could go out dressed like it and could go to kindergarten like as like somebody from Star Wars, or just like a policeman or like a football player. And I always had these costumes, and I felt like I could kind of change my personality through it and be that person. And And I feel like I fell in this more of dangerous path, if you want to call it, but like to not really be myself. And my mom always used to tell me that to be yourself, don't be a policeman, don't be just that, you know, don't get into these boxes, but just be yourself. And I feel like what you're saying is really that, is going out of this, you know, and just sharing who you are. And I feel like through loving yourself, you really get the chance to experience that and to find out who you are, to then share that with the world. And then like people like me can share or like experience your vision and your worldview in that, and live through that as a little kid, how I used to dress up as somebody and imagine the world from that thing.
Yeah, it's like we lose this imagination. And there's like this saying also that like when we're kids, we do have like this like mind of imagination. Like our opportunities, our thoughts are endless and we are so open. And then as we become adults, we start being closed off. But it is because we have more awareness of these social pressures and how we're supposed to appear to people. And that just limits us so much. And it's just so sad to see how much it has progressed in that term nowadays, like how we're just obsessed with showcasing the good but not even showcasing the bad. Like we glorify the good a lot more than the bad. But not to say like we should glorify the bad, but like I mean, we don't want to be like, yeah, I had a great bad day, but you know, just like that relatability and yeah, just being able to connect with people and knowing that you're not alone, that you are definitely not alone in this road. I'm sure there was probably someone else dressing up for the carnivals or Halloween, just like you, Tim.
No, for sure. But I feel like it's also great that we have this, or that you start building this up where you are more like honest and just open through all your feelings and through also the bad times. And I agree that glorifying them is not the way, but it's nice to know that they are there, that other people, as you said, struggle too, or, you know, as the people that you look up to and that you kind of idolize and take as idols to kind of grow as a person yourself, that they also struggle and that they have issues with like physically, mentally, whatever, but that everybody has that, and it's okay, it's part of life, you know. But I feel like that also opens up the whole thing of like kind of getting to figure out how to get out of this together, you know, how to be more open to like, how can I get out of mental struggles again, you know, how can I find a way out of that. And I think that's also where content can be a really nice way to get together and to find solutions and to share these solutions for other people to see.
Oh yeah, we're definitely lacking that. Like I've definitely seen some creators who show tips on how to be proactive in your day-to-day, so you're not staying in one spot and like overthinking or like not staying active, because it does take those little things to, I don't know, build some sort of happiness or some sort of like progressiveness and energy around your day-to-day. It's like also seeing like, all right, what can I accomplish in the day? Like not taking these days for granted. And I know that's like so overly said, but like in reality, like don't take your days for granted. Live life to the fullest, do what you need to do, and don't wait for anyone to hold your hand through anything. And I wish that someone would have told me this a lot sooner growing up, but like in all honesty, and even in like the film industry in general, it's so collaborative, but like at the end of the day, you can't wait on anyone to do anything that you want to do in your life. Like you have to take the leap. You're the one who has to hold your own hand through the process.
For sure. That's a really great thought. I actually just read a book about that as well, where it was from like an author called Strelecki. I have no clue where he's from, but I haven't researched about him. But he has this great theory of he calls it museum lives, and what that is that basically when you die, you have you go to, you know, don't go to heaven or anywhere else first, but you go to a museum, and you go to the museum of yourself. So he says that like broken down, an average person has about like, I think it was 28,000 days in one's life, which is like not much, but basically the museum would show directly how much you spend your time on. Like if you sleep for 40% of your time, 40% of that museum would be filled with sleeping, you know? So in that way, he created this platform to really be open and like reflecting on how do you spend your days.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh my God, I'm going to take that into consideration too. Like, what do I want my museum to look like? I know I don't want my museum to look like I'm just sitting watching TV. And that's going to be a lot of it. A lot of my binge watching is definitely there.
That would have been my next question. Like, what do you think? What would be your museum filled up with up till now? And what would you change, like, knowing that theory? As you said, not watch as much TV, for example.
Yeah, oh my God. Like, I was actually just having this conversation with my fiance that, like, growing up, that's all I would really do is watch so much TV. I mean, it does explain my love for film and television, for sure. But I feel like instead of watching all of that TV, I could have been definitely working on myself and definitely working more on my craft. And I have noticed this shift sort of in my mentality. Like, when I was younger, I used to be very active. I used to be very involved with, like, singing, dancing, and acting, and that's what I wanted to do. Like, I knew that that was the field I wanted to go into. Fast forward to college and stuff, things started to alter, and then I started gravitating towards the film industry because I wanted to learn the behind, like, the scenes stuff. So I think that, like, that kind of space of things, I could have definitely fixed in between those times, especially when I first got to New York. Like, I feel like because I was trying to catch up on my social life, I focused so much on that. And like I said, not on myself. I think that's one of my biggest regrets. And I think I tell people this now is, like, focus on yourself and what you need and what's going to make you happy. Because at the end of the day, you need to make yourself happy before you can make anyone else happy.
For sure.
And what are you doing in your life that is moving you towards that, you know? Like, you can't, being miserable or feeling sorry about yourself, that's only going to make the issue, like, harder. So that's why I try not to think about, like, all right, like, what could I have done better in my life? Because I'm sure there's a lot of it that I could list, but I try not to dwell with it because I'm like, all right, whatever is in the past is in the past. Like, I can't look at it because I will go down this, like, spiral, be like, oh my God. But it's like, all right, where I'm at, I'm always, like, I'm supposed to be here, right? We're all supposed to be in this one moment here. Like, I'm supposed to have this conversation with you, Tim. And, like, you know, the way that we met is so, like, oh my God, like, kind of random in a sense, but also, like, look how long we've known each other now. Because time goes by so fast. So it's just, like, these little things in life that come up. It's like you wouldn't expect and you wouldn't know. And then time passes and you're like, oh my God, like, that happened. I don't know. Life is crazy.
For sure. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I feel like there's a lot of honesty in that. And I also learned that over, like, the last time more and more that focusing on myself first is really also helping everybody else around me to like kind of get to, like, stand me better in that sense. Like, you have to be able to love yourself and to be connected with yourself first, and then you can be open yourself up for other people to meet and to meet you and to get to know the person that you love and you actively share with the world in that social aspect sentence. Social aspect, right? No, but that's a really good point. I wanted to go to back to what you said earlier as well with your childhood. Like, I would be really interested in hearing more about how you kind of changed that, like, wanting to be a singer or actor and then wanting to be more on the filming side. How did that develop, and how did your passion? How did you find that passion, or how did that change, and what made you feel this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I grew up loving this stuff. Like, I started dancing at 3 and I started singing at 3. Acting, I didn't get into until I was about, like, 10 because I didn't even know that was a thing. And I got into my middle school play at the time. I believe. Yeah, something like that. And so I fell in love with it. Like, I fell in love with being in a musical theater. I fell in love with being in plays. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Like, I was determined to be an actress, and that's what I was going to be. And at one point, I know, right? Look at me now. So funny and ironic. But I think, like I said, everything happens for a reason.
For sure.
And so, yeah, I went to school for acting because that's what I wanted to major in. And my mom was like, there's no way that you're not going to college. Like, you need to go to college. And I was like, well, the only way I'm going to go to college is if it's for acting. So I got into AMDA, which is the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. And they do a program. Like, I could get my BFA if I did 2 years in New York and 2 years in LA. And that was, like, ideally, that was, like, the greatest package. 2 years in New York, 2 years in LA. Say less. Like, I'm there. And I get to act.
Sure.
Like, yeah, right? That's my dream. Fast forward to me actually attending the school. And it was a fucking shit show. It was not what I expected it. I felt like I was in high school. The teachers mistreated the students a lot, mistreated me a lot, and I just didn't want to be in that environment. I was just like, this is like PTSD. Like, no, I'm not doing this for myself, and I'm not paying so much money a year to feel like shit. So I dropped out. I moved back to Pennsylvania, which is where I'm originally from, and I was like, well, I can't stop doing this. Like, I want to keep doing acting. I want to keep being in the industry. I don't know how. Like, and I don't know what other schools I can go to for acting. Like, I just felt like I didn't have options. So I started working at Starbucks, and they do this college achievement plan. And one of the programs is film. And I was like, perfect. There you go. I get to learn the behind the scenes things, and I still get to act. Then fast forward some, I ended up like leaving acting altogether, and I started really wanting to direct. And I'm like, well, if I can be a director, I can do it all, right? I can be the boss of my own story. And I don't like it when people tell me what to do, just in general. So it was perfect. Like, I know a lot of actors, they struggle with that. So I was like, well, I can make my own films. I can be in my own films. And I can just like, I can hold my fate, because I've seen a lot of struggling actors, and I didn't want to be one of those like struggling actors. I wanted to provide myself my own gigs, and I wanted to be the own like artist and creator of the vision. Yeah, that's where I'm at now.
That's great to hear. But I feel like, especially in what you do now, there's still acting kind of involved. You know, it's part of the process in your content creation. You're still the protagonist as well in your little adventures. So I think, as you said, it all happens for a reason. It's all there. But I'm really like proud that you didn't give acting up and film up for the bad experiences you had. You know, that it stuck with you, and that you made through it and said, well, doesn't matter. I have this courage to begin with, to like give up school, but I'm sticking with my passion in order to get through it. That's really amazing to hear, and really cool.
Yeah, a lot of downfalls. I mean, I just had my downfall right now, just recently. And I mean, it does make you second guess everything, like, especially being in the film industry. You're like, is it worth it? But at the end of the day, like I said, you are the sole holder of that. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to characterize yourself in these like norms that people see, like working in a studio or working for indie production. Like, you don't need that. Like, what if you create your own indie production, right? What if you create your own films? You could do that. And I was actually helping this film festival. It's like it just started about like 2 years ago. And I was helping them with their social media. And I got to watch the films that were submitted. And some of the films were so uniquely done. And it was like a one-man show. You know, there was no one else involved in it. They did it themselves. Exactly. And I'm like, see, these people are out here doing their own films, like doing your own stuff. Like, you don't need anyone but yourself. And you don't need to, I guess, rely on other people to make your dreams come true.
No, for sure. I really agree on that with you. Another story I would like to discuss with you is the Women's Weekend Film Challenge that you did. We talked about that, I think, like quite at the start when we met, and you did that, and I was really interested and curious about your experience there, how this went, and how that was for you compared to the other experiences you had in film, where it can be a quite long and tedious process, through pre-production and then also post.
Yeah, no, it's a wild process, but honestly, like, I really loved the experience. I would definitely do it again. So how it all started is I didn't even know about the Women's Weekend Film Challenge until one of my friends, Jillian, she sent it to me, and she said that she was going to apply. She wanted to apply for either the writer's role, director's role, or producer, one of those three. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to apply too. And so I applied for the first AD role, and I applied, I think, to be a producer and something else. I forget what else I applied to, but there you get to apply to your top three. And I was at the beach, and the notification or the email that says you've been selected and congratulations was actually in my spam mail. And
oh God.
I know. And luckily, I don't know what made me be check your spam. And so I did, and I found it. And I was like, oh my God, if I never checked my spam, I would have never known.
That's
legitimately.
Crazy. Yeah.
Turns out I wasn't the only one who had that issue. So it wasn't just me. It's just something with their emails that just leads to spam.
Damn.
I know. So I got that, and I got the notification that I got the first AD role. So I was like, that's lit. This is going to be my first credited first AD role position. I was so hyped for that. And to be able to have a quick turnaround. Sometimes with these films, when you get on board with the film, you don't know how long you're actually going to be in the film, helping out. And sometimes it gets to be a longer process than expected. And you're like, all right, I'm over this. Let's move on to the next project. But you're still stuck on it, or sometimes things fall through. And so all of your time and energy for this project that you want to be credited on, it ends up falling through. And then you're left with nothing. Well, that kept happening to me. So it was nice that I knew that this film was going to get made and I was going to get my credits, and yes, all is good. So yeah, we had 2 days to plan it. So we didn't even know our genre at all. It was a live drawing that they did.
Assigned genre?
Yeah, we got assigned genre. Yeah, it was pretty cool, because it was all right, the anticipation, right? And we were so committed that we were going to get comedy, or we were going to get anything else but sci-fi. And of course, we get sci-fi. And we're like, no, but also we're like, you know what? We got this. Right off the bat, we were all like, we got this. Any challenges that we face, we know that we will do anything in our power to make this film happen to the 110% capacity that we know that this could go. And everyone was on board. Everyone had that same energy. I know, it was incredible.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we had 2 days to film the film. We filmed a 10-page script in 2 days, which is pretty intense if you think about it.
Wow.
And we had this whole premiere. So we did a whole big premiere in New York with all the films, and then we submitted to festivals, and we have one that's I think one award so far, but I don't know. It's still in the festival circuit. But yeah, that's how it went down.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, what a process. That's so different. But
yeah.
I feel like that's so cool. I had that recently where in school where we had a 4-day project week, in which we had to do a 15-minute presentation about anything. And was about collaborating with different disciplines. So we as composers had to collaborate with musicians and dancers and music theater and actors, and kind of create something. And I also had the really great opportunity to have a great team that was really, really motivated, and that was so great, because it was long days, and we had it started at 8 or 9, which is not too bad, but then went on until 7 in the evening, and then I had to get back home, and we wanted to do a musical, for a 15-minute musical, I think, or it ended up being 10, but plan was 15, and so we had 3 or 4 songs that had to be produced because we needed the playback. So I came back home, and then I had to produce out the piano sketches that we did. So my days were from 8 to like 1 at night for like 4 days and everything. It was so cool because everybody did that, everybody had that motivation in us, and it ended up being like a really cool, fun project, and one of the greatest experiences of my life, where we just did like this incredibly fun thing where everybody was on board. And I feel like these things are so rare that everybody is like having the same motivation, and I feel like you really have to get together with the people that feel the same on that.
Yeah, no, it makes a big difference. Like if you have people on your team that are not in it, you feel it. Like the end project or your end product feels it. Like it doesn't feel the love and the passion. And that's with anything that you do in life. Like if there's no love or passion behind it, you can feel it. In music, same thing, right? Or say, for instance, you're painting a picture, right? From the very beginning, you hate it. It's going to come out how you don't expect it, or that you don't, you know what I mean? It's just... there's science behind it. So they proved it with these 2 plants, right? Let's get scientific here.
All right, let's do it. I'm down.
So yeah, you're down for the science. So there's these 2 plants that they had, and they had a cup of water in each plant, like by each plant, and they were saying negative comments to one plant, and then they were saying positive comments to the other plant. The negative plant started dying, and the water was like darkening. And so the other plant was like growing and like prospering, and the water was so clear. So like it matters. What you put out into the world, the energy that you put out matters.
That's I didn't know about that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really,
I know, right?
really nice. Yeah.
So if you ever have plants, talk nicely.
I don't know what I did wrong. I had a cactus once. It was on my piano, and I somehow managed to kill a cactus. So probably my energy was was off with that one. Not good. No, I still don't know how I managed it. But since now I've been stuck with plastic plants. Because I'm also not that much at my place, and like hopping around, and with watering it would be no great situation for a real plant, and I'm stuck with plastic now. But it's still like I still love my plastic plants, so maybe they also will grow and at least feel my energy. That's all I can ask for the plants.
Exactly, just feel the energy.
No, but that's really cool, and I feel like with that, it's really, as you said, it's in life, the people you meet, and that you instantly, like, I feel like we also, when we first met, we instantly like resonated with each other because we had like the same energy, and I feel like you can see it now. I didn't notice, but we have the same shirt, basically.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
So
we got tie-dye on.
But it's like the same thing, I feel like there's I don't know why, but like with some people you just have this connection, this energy. And sometimes you really get that from the beginning, and it's really cool to see, and I feel like through that we also work really well together because of that.
Yeah, oh my god, I am such an energy person. I can sense energy so quickly, and it's like, I don't know, it's like a blessing and a curse, because
yeah, for sure.
Sometimes it could be like, I don't like you, but it's not like me purposely being that type of person, like, I don't like you. It's just like your energy, I'm not vibing with it, and I can't. There's some people that I really cannot get along with, who are just like, their energies are just off for me. And yeah, it does matter. Like when you do connect with people in the sense of like how we connected, right? It's hard. One, it's hard to find, and two, it's also like very unique to me, to like the people that are around me, how I've built these connections and how our energies like flow with each other. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like magic. It's like weird. It's like the sense of familiarity. Yeah, that's the word.
Sure.
But it's like, I don't know, like you don't feel like you have to try. Like you don't have to put more energy because the energies are flowing. Some people, like, it's hard to get conversations from them. And so you're putting so much energy that by the end of it, you're like, I'm done. I'm tapped out. But when you have this like similar energies, you're not one or the other isn't needing more from one another. So they're just like flowing. It's science. Yeah,
it's the plants all over again. It's just you grow together because both have the same energy. So it's
exactly
just amazing. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm really glad that we have that as well.
Yeah, that we got the plant vibes.
We got the plan, right? Oh, that's so cool. Did I ever tell you about this like one synth dude who produced actually an album for plants?
No.
He like, oh damn, I forgot his name. Wait, let's just go on. But a guy made an album where he basically wrote synth music for plants, and the way he also advertised it was that people could only buy the album if they bring a plant, or if they buy a plant in that same store. So he basically wrote that album to connect plants with people, and I thought that was such a genius idea and such a different way of doing it. But it was called Plantasia. I just forgot the guy's name. But anyways, I just love the process of like being like, you only get to like experience this music with your plant, and to like build this connection through art is something really unique, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I mean, just in general, art is so beautiful, and the meanings behind it and the symbolism behind art, the emotions, there's just like so much. And music just amplifies that. Like, I have such an appreciation for music. If I could pick another career path, it would have been music, like for sure. If I was better at it too, but you know, we all have our specialties. We all need to like figure out when to stop.
No, but there is. We actually also talked about that with one of our teachers, he's an incredible teacher. We had him in music theory, and he said that what makes music special is that you can never describe something directly in a way, you know, in where you can paint a waterfall, or in film you can show a waterfall, or you can sculpt the waterfall, whatever. But in music you cannot. Well, you know, you have to represent it, and in that abstractation there's always room for interpretation. And so in that, music is quite an indirect art, but also a really weird form of art, because it's so abstract from everything else.
Wow, that's interesting. I wouldn't have expected to like see it like that, but now that you put it to words, I'm like, oh yeah, like you're right. It is so like abstract. I guess you get to have your own sense of what it means to you, like how it reflects, and you get to create your own story with the song.
Yeah, for sure. And through that I also got like a new appreciation for music, because that's like, it's so mysterious, but I also never thought more of it, but to kind of go with it and then think about like, okay, well, I have no idea what I'm doing in that sense as a musician, as well as also was quite frustrating at times, to be like, well, you know, you have, especially in film, you have to like lay down emotions and like color a scene with whatever you feel. And I feel like generally you learn to do that, and there's certain things that you can of course always do, but to really get down on things is can be really hard, and I always have to reinvent myself in that as well, to kind of find out how I will do this in this movie or in this scene. And it's always like been a process for me, and it's always been interesting and frustrating at the same time, because you hit corners, and it's just trial and error for me. And also for each project I feel like it's been so different, you know. I mean, we had the issue with Catching Up, where we worked together, where the music had like this kind of weird role to fill, where it was, I remember like almost to the word, it was supposed to be emotionally but not polarizing, so not positive but not negative, but very emotional. And I had a hard time finding something where I felt like, okay, this is, you know, not hopeful, or hopefully pessimistic, I think was the term that you guys used. And I was like, I talked also with like my colleagues, and we were like, how would you do that? You know, there's no easy way to it sometimes, and it's a really interesting process doing music for sure.
It is, especially coming up with it from scratch. Like, that is such a tedious thing to do, and like you have to build so much on that on that sound and like on that story. Like where are we going? Where are we going with this sound? Are you feeling it? Like, are you interpreting what I'm interpreting? Like it's a lot of unspokenness.
For sure. And especially in film, I feel like, because when you get to collaborations with directors or producers, and you have to talk about music where not everybody has the same knowledge of it, it gets really, really interesting, and the conversations that you have there are really showing of personalities and of energies again, I would say. I feel like I can work so much better with people I know well, because then we can like go off of music but just talk about emotions and feelings and the stories, to kind of find out a way of how to do things without ever having to talk about music. And I feel like that kind of sometimes even works better for me when working on film.
Yeah. No, with film, it's like, it's so hard because it's like you have to distinguish where you want that specific sound. Where is it meant to carry on the story? Is it going to take away from what's happening? Should this be a silent moment? There's like so much to like plan out when it comes to sound and music and film. Like, especially like if we're really going into it, having like copyrighted music on your films, like all of that, like is such a process. But it's like, how do you choose which copyrighted song that you want? It's like what like meanings behind it. In film, I always try to find a meaning behind everything that I put into the actual film. Like there has to be a purpose for it. If not, then why is it there?
For sure. No, and I think that's another huge part of it, and I've struggled with this too. Like I had this because I think I told this story before, but I had an iPod for like the longest time, and I always used to listen to music all the time, like everywhere. So I kind of got used to building an own soundtrack for whatever I'm feeling, and through that I kind of got used to finding out what I would paint a scene with based on the experiences I had through just years and years of listening. But I feel like with you said, it's also so personal, the stories you have with specific songs, specific artists, specific types of music, the experiences you had listening to things, or the memories that you share with people about songs, about emotions that you can or cannot put into film, or that may or may not translate in certain ways.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's something, I don't know, if I were to put certain songs in a film that like have already been sang, it's like you don't want to want a cliche. There's always those songs that like everyone adds to their films, and it's like, okay, I've heard this so many times. But also like, how does it resonate with the character itself? Like, why would that specific character be listening to that song? Or maybe it's not them, maybe it's people around them, but it's typically them. Like they don't just, there's a reason behind it, I'm sure. But because it's like I said, it's hard to throw in those types of songs in just anything. I was watching The Summer I Turned Pretty on Amazon Prime, and they added this like Olivia Rodrigo song on, but this was a great use of it. It was over cheesy, the scene, but like it made sense. Like they did the driver's license song. Mm-hmm. Do you know that one? Yeah. Right?
It's quite overused. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. It's overused, but they still used it. And Belly, like the main character, she's getting into her car, and as soon as she's about to like turn on the engine, the beginning of the song plays, and she's driving, and obviously like she's like in this breakup like feel, and it goes with the song. But I was like, oh my god, like they could have used any song, but this was like a perfect moment for them to connect the song to this scene. So I get it.
I think that's something that you more and more get, is like this more meta approach to that, where it was like since the beginning of things, they already used music in film to kind of, hey, this is what you listen to as well, like to get the audience to be like, I know this, I have a feeling for this song because I know this already. And I feel like now more and more through also this incredible amount of content, and with TikTok and Instagram you have so much music related content all over the place that you kind of can play with these cliches now to overdo them or not in like on purpose to color a scene. And I loved what they did there in like the new Barbie movie. I don't know if you've watched it, but
No, I haven't yet.
really not.
No,
Oh,
I know.
you have to.
You would. I know. I'm actually gonna go see it on Tuesday. I'm like a little far behind, but yeah.
You should for sure. But I feel like they had this. Yeah, they just played with cliches so nicely. Or also like, I watched the new Scream recently.
Oh my god, me too! I did too! Oh my god, that's wild. I hadn't seen it until like a few days ago. Because it's on Paramount. I believe it's on like Paramount. And I saw like an advertisement for it, and we didn't know what to watch. And so I was like, oh, let's just watch the new Scream movie. Like, I haven't seen it yet. I was like, but it was actually pretty good. I was scared. I was like jumping up. I couldn't stay seated. Like, I was so terrified.
They did a great job, and I loved the movie too. Like, it was so meta with everything. You know, the whole story, the music, the films, and the characters. It was so good. I really liked it. But through that, I feel like it wouldn't have been the same if it wasn't for everything before. So it got really weighted quite heavily through everything. And I feel like that's a new thing in film, where you have to kind of find your way through it. That hasn't been there for too long.
Yeah, I know. I think it was smart because, like, there's so much, like, overdone of things. It's like when they try to reboot things. Actually, speaking of rebooting, right? Now that we're on this topic, I just watched the new, like, Zoe 102. Have you ever seen Zoe 101? I know it's, like, a different generation, so there could have been, like, a generation gap.
I heard of it. Like, it was on while I was a kid, but I never watched it.
Okay.
But
well, yeah, I was like obsessed. But they came out with Zoe 102. And, you know, what's already been playing is like iCarly as well. Like, that's been a thing that
I watched
shouldn't
that
have.
one.
You watched the new one?
No, iCarly.
Oh, but you watched the show.
Yes.
Oh, but you haven't seen the new seasons that they have now.
No, they did new seasons.
Yeah, now they're like older and now they like curse and stuff.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's like this whole another like generation, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to like understand that we have grown up and so have these characters, and now they're like, all right, how do we connect with our audience again? Like, how do we not overuse some things, like make this too cheesy, where the fact that like these people we're not going to have the same audiences anymore. Like now we're going to have like a younger audience who hasn't even watched the original, so they won't understand the story type thing. But I was watching Zoe 102, and I was expecting something. I was like, no, they shouldn't have brought it back. Like, they should have left it as is. But honestly, it wasn't bad. And it could be because it is directed by a female. So I think she did an incredible job. And with iCarly, I haven't really watched this. I can't really speak on behalf of that. I watched an episode, but I was like, I didn't really like iCarly. Like, I did, but I didn't with iCarly. So I'm like, I feel like it's still the same kind of acting, and I'm like outgrown from that acting.
Yeah,
if that
for
makes
sure.
sense.
Yeah.
But that's a problem. It's like these shows will come back and like might not get the attention that they want. Instead, they'll get like negative attention because it's not as good as like the original.
Yeah, but that's what you have to live up to, and I feel like a lot of things struggle with that. And yeah, I'm also like with now there's so much that I feel like there's need to be more original stuff again. We have to get back to I don't know, to what Mandalorian did to Star Wars, where they just took like this really tiny piece of it and made it a new show, you know. And I felt like for some time now we've been on the edge with like, I don't know, new Hollywood in a way, like the same thing that happened in the 60s with Western, where Western just got bigger and bigger, and then they completely dropped off, and it was like these, in new Hollywood you had these really tiny stories about characters and about intricacies and about feelings and these tiny stories compared to like the huge Western you had before. And I felt like with Marvel and superhero movies and everything, we had the same thing, where we kind of now are getting back to not the Dark Knight, but the Joker movie, you know, not the huge Marvel, not the huge Star Wars, but the Mandalorian, with like these tinier stories. And I feel like that's where we headed in a way. At least I hope, because I also think that's really cool. And especially in our age of like individualism and content creation online as well, there's so much that we always try to connect with people. And I feel like the more intimate we get with stories and with stories of people, we more connect to the people. So I feel like in our generation, that's the way to go in a movie as of right now, from my taste. But I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I understand what they're trying to do in that, but I also want to respect the fact that there's so many untold stories out there that haven't been explored but haven't had the opportunity to be explored. Like, they keep canceling shows that are pretty good. There is, and that are new to the game, that like something that we haven't seen before. It's like, why can't we keep this traction? It's like there's something new and it gets canceled. That's what I don't like. But things like The Mandalorian, like Star Wars has been around forever, right? And it will always be around. But it's like, okay, and then what? You know, it's like, all right, and then what more? I know a lot of people have like mixed feelings about it, and they're like, they shouldn't have continued and they should have just like stopped. But I don't know, it's all like, I guess, personal preference. But I'm always ready for something new, because new can really surprise you. Yeah,
for sure. And I feel like that's what's all about. And I'm just like, with all the rebooted stuff and all the continued stuff, they always are compared to what's been before. And I'm getting, I don't know, sometimes I feel sad about the loss of kind of nostalgia. In that is also what they managed to do with Stranger Things, where I was really afraid of, is I got really attached to the show, and I love the show to death. It's my favorite show. But like with each season, I got more and more afraid that they would just repeat what they did before and to fall back to what worked, you know. But they managed to not do that for me, and I feel like that's really cool. But I felt like this anxiety of me to be scared of, oh God, I don't want a new season because I'm scared of it might ruin the thing, is really, really frustrating to me. So there I'm really on, let's go with original stories. So it's not, you know, if it's done, it's done, and then move on to the next thing. But don't tell if there's no story anymore. You know, they can continue shows if they have something to tell forever. I'm good with that. But like, I feel like more and more shows have not much to tell anymore, but just do it for financial purpose instead of just giving up.
Like Grey's Anatomy. That's one of them. That is just like, is it ever gonna end?
Probably not. They're just gonna keep forever, and sometimes you will have the grandpas of everybody just coming back together for like the, I don't know, 40,000th episode special or something. It's crazy.
No, see, that's like one of the shows that I'm like, but how? Like, we could be coming up with other shows that have similar aspects, but it's like, we all know this is Grey's Anatomy. Like, I don't know.
But
I've never been a fan.
Still watch it. I don't, you know, it still works, and I don't understand how that is happening in a way.
We're not getting the memo here. People haven't told us the secret.
I think so too. There must be something more to it, for sure.
Yeah. No, there can't be any other way. Like, I get bored of things really easily. So it could be, like, I know a lot of people watch shows for comfort, and they'll rewatch the same shows because they know what's going to happen. So it could be that, like, it could be a portion of the generation that has comfort in this show that are, like, truly, like, this is their show. Where, in a sense of people like me, who I only keep up with the show if it's really good. Like, if for whatever reason we're on the 3rd season and it starts falling, I will fall with it. Like, I'm like, no, this isn't going anywhere. With actually one of my favorite shows, Yellow Jackets, the 2nd season, I was starting to fall out some episodes. I'm like, oh my God, like, come on already. Just like, get to the point. It is dragging. So I'm hoping that third season they like pick it back up because it was dragging. But that's when I might fall off on because I'm like, get to the point.
No, I totally get that. I feel like I'm more on the comfort side there, to be honest. Like I've watched Stranger Things I think like 4 or 5 times now.
What?
But every time with like somebody else to like show it to this friend or show it to my parents, and it's been great to just experience it from the beginning again with other people. But there's also shows like I don't know, How I Met Your Mother or Friends that I've watched. I think How I Met Your Mother I've watched 8 times or something. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
It's so much. But like what I do there is I have this awful habit of I have to watch something while working. I don't know why, but I have this crazy habit of if I don't have something that I could get distracted by, I get distracted by that thought. So if I have something, and that's why I watch like sitcoms, because they don't have any music, I can just have it running. And if I know that I know them, I don't miss anything. So I can watch a season of How I Met Your Mother and I can speak with it. So it's not a problem. But I have to have that running. Otherwise, I will be looking at my phone the whole time because I'll be like, oh, this is happening. But then I have a distraction to kind of like a pseudo distraction in a way. So in that I get a comfort of like, I know How I Met Your Mother, and it's been like getting to know a friend. You know, you watch it again and again, and you get to know the characters even more. But I feel like I've also always been like kind of this weird kid there, that when I was younger, I used to like play with Lego and like look at a book at the same time, and then like also listen to like an audiobook on like a cassette player at the same time. So I always had like 3 or 4 things. My parents always said that they had a quite hard time keeping me entertained. So I don't know. I always have had this really active thing, but in that I was happy with like listening to the same stuff 8 times. It's just I need input.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because I actually find it really hard for me to work, especially editing, when I hear sounds. Like I've tried to edit with music, I can't do it. I have to be able to listen to the audio, especially if I'm working with it. Like I have to be able to just listen to the audio and edit that way. Or even like I've tried to listen to music while working, but I get so overwhelmed by like my internal thoughts of like, say for instance, I have to write an email and I'm like, all right, what am I saying in this email? And I'm writing, but I'm listening to these lyrics. I'm like, no, it's too much. And I'll end up exiting out of the browser. And then I'm the rest of the time, because I'm so in the zone, I won't listen to anything. And I literally will work in silence.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I have this really specific distinction there. Like if I work or if I write something, I have to listen to music without lyrics. And also with the shows, I actually, when I have to like write music, it's okay because they only speak. But if I mix, I actually turn down the sound and I only have the picture. But it's just like, I don't know why, but I have to have something else. So I know that I have a focus on this, and, you know, so that I have something to focus off in a way. And yeah, it's really weird. And my phone's dying all the time. My battery is so dead because it's like always running, and I kill my phones with it. But yeah, I don't know. It works. But I also get your point totally, and I sometimes have that as well, where I just dead focus, and then you cannot have any distraction.
Yeah. No, I've tried to like be, and I always put this on my resume too. I'm like multitasker, but in reality, I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I need to be like in one thing. I can like get out of projects. So like, say for instance, I'm like working on something and there's something else I need to do. I'll fluctuate between the two. But like if I'm concentrated or I'm in the zone with this like one specific task, like that's all I'm concentrating on. I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
I lied on my resume.
Well, nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
That's like that meme. Nobody's gonna know.
Yes. One more thing I would like to go into is also your podcast. You're doing a podcast, and I actually recently got to do the new intro music for it. It's called FilmSpill.
Yes.
and you're talking about movies by female directors that are coming up or that you watched, and you review them and talk about what's happening. And I love the podcast. I always listen to it like while making food or while cleaning. Every time I need some distraction or just something to like focus on, I put that on, and I really love it. And I've watched so many films that I would never have without it, because I have this really limited research about that. But I listen to so many great films because of your podcast, and I just want to thank you for it. And yeah, it's a great podcast, and it's really empowering, I believe, for everybody to listen to and to check it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's the goal, is for you to recognize these films that aren't being talked about. And it's so unfortunate that, unfortunately, in our society, in 2023, we are still experiencing where these female directors or non-binary directors are not getting recognized for their hard work and their accomplishments, and even their films in general. Like, there's no recognition. And I wanted to have that platform to provide that voice for these directors, and to provide a voice for their films, and to talk about how great they actually are, and to give recommendations, and to also like have fun and get to meet other people. Because a lot of people that I've had on the podcast, I didn't meet up until having them on the podcast, which is pretty funny. But I like that, because it challenges me to like really get to know the person. And I love getting to know people and getting to hear their stories about, you know, what brought them into the film industry as well, and what challenges they've personally faced. Because unfortunately, like I said, being a female or being non-binary in the film industry has been very limited to what we're able to do, because there's not enough of us in these core roles. Like, there's like probably like 20% of women are directors, and that's so small, right? And then you see the number, like out of 100, that's the majority is made up of men. Like, you know, we should be making up more than that, but the opportunities aren't getting presented to us because we are females, and our voices are still being undermined for what we're able to accomplish. So I'm hoping that throughout the years it starts to change, but FilmSpill is that platform that I want to be the cause of change and awareness.
Yeah, it definitely works for me. I watch so many great films, and yeah, thank you for it. It's an incredible platform, and I'm really glad that you're doing this, because I feel like it's really something that is a problem in our society and in the film industry especially, and it's getting more light on, I feel like, in the last years, but it's definitely still something that we have to work towards and have to get together to solve that issue, for sure.
Yeah, we do, because if we don't come together, then it's not going to be solved, because there's no one else rooting for us but ourselves.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I'm glad that this is now kind of getting started, at least, you know, that there's shed light on, because I feel like for the longest time it just was being silenced, and now these issues also with films like Barbie, where still it gets such an idiot amount of backlash for being what it is, and it's very scary and still very shameful to see all that. But you see all these empowerments and ways of also, for me as a male in the industry, to get the chance to grow together and to just do something together, you know, to not have this separation, but this inclusivity for everybody to work together for this common goal of being together and being equal.
Yeah, and to like be able to tell our side of the story too. Like, if you see the movies that they were making back in the early 2000s that are female based, right, but were directed by men, we are so victimized to the stereotypes and to our depictions and to the male gaze that it's just like ridiculous to know that like I watched that as a kid, and like God knows how many other kids are watching films now that are giving them these wrong ideas. It's just like, we're watching this, and so we believe what we watch at the end of the day, especially when we're naive to like what's the truth. And so that's why I really appreciate documentaries. Like, I fuck with documentaries, because I love like getting knowledge from things that I watch. So that could be the visual learner in me. I'm such like a visual learner, so that could be it. But like, you know, these, I don't know, who was I talking on? I was having this conversation yesterday. Wow. I feel like maybe it's because I'm always talking about film, but I was talking about how Greta Gerwig, right? Now that she came out with Barbie, now more people are talking about her, right? But her other films have done a really good job as well. Lady Bird has like a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Little Women has like a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, I believe. It's so good. Her films are so freaking good. But all of these, there's another one, Kelly Freeman Craig, she came out with Are You There, God, Margaret? Are You There, God, Margaret? Yeah, that's the film. But before that, she came out with The Edge of 17, which I did do an episode on. But
also incredible movie.
Yeah. But it's such a great movie, right?
It's such a great movie.
She does a great job with directing and like telling these stories, because women need to tell stories about women. I think that is the point that I'm trying to get across, is that like, why are we giving the opportunity of men to tell our story when they're not telling it the right way, and where we're not connecting with it, right? We're not resonating with it because they don't know how it is to be a woman.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there, I feel like lies the danger and the power of film, is that you, in a perfect world, you could tell these stories and we could all learn from each other in that, because as you said, like Hollywood reality is too oftentimes made reality, and we believe everything we see on TV, and in that lies the power to like also change us and to make us learn about each other, and I feel like that's a great chance. I also had this discussion recently about cultural and like racial backgrounds, where, for example, in Black Panther, you had this really culturally like African American movie about like this country in Wakanda, and they took a white composer in Ludwig Göransson, a Swedish-based composer who has not been part of this culture, but in getting the chance to work on this film, he like went to Africa for 6 months to get to know the culture, and he, in how far I can tell, because again I'm also not in that culture, so I don't feel like I should judge it, but I feel like he, from what I can tell, he learned so much and portrayed it in a way that is true to the culture. And he learned it for himself first, and I feel like that's also the power of film, is that through this connection and this collaborational approach, you can learn so much from the people you work together with, if you're open for it. And I feel like film is so powerful in that we should use that more in telling these stories about women as well, in which we can all learn from it and just empower people and empower women to make this world a better place.
Yeah, and that they are able to uphold these types of roles too, that they can be behind the screen, like writing these stories. I mean, right now with the strike, things are very like hectic in the film industry, but honestly, like that should not stop you from, like I said, creating your own stuff and telling your own stories, because we need to hear more of it, and we shouldn't let other people tell our stories.
No, for sure. I fully agree on that.
Yeah.
Fully agree. Well, I think that's a really great ending to this episode. If you don't have anything else, I feel like.
No, I think that's good. Yeah, we talked for like an hour, like on the dot, an hour and 3 minutes. I know, right?
That's crazy.
Look at us in timing.
We covered some great topics, and it was a really beautiful conversation. So, again, thank you so much for being on this podcast and to sharing your story. And I really hope the audience listens to it and gets to know you as well, because I love you as a person and as a friend, and I'm really happy that we got to meet. And so, yeah, to you, this is incredible. And again, thank you so much for being on this episode.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was such an honor to be a guest on a podcast episode. Like, this is my first podcast that I've been a guest on. So thank you so much.
It's another side of the coin, right?
Yeah, no, it feels great.